Hey, it's Orit, and today I'm super compelled to make this video. It's been a huge theme in my sessions of women feeling like they're anxious for no good reason, not realizing that they're actually holding really old trauma inside their bodies. So if you either physically are feeling anxious all the time, like it's honestly just hard to live in your body, it's uncomfortable, or you're up here all the time and there's constant mind chatter, constant indecision, it's really never quiet up there, then this video is for you. Because I work with a lot of women who we get on a relationship review together, we get on a chat, and they tell me about what's going on in their lives and their relationships. And they're like, but I haven't experienced any trauma. I grew up in a really loving home. My parents were always really caring and loving for me. It's like there's this guilt where they have to say that, which is fine. But when you feel that way and you actually have been through trauma, it makes you feel even worse almost than if you are really aware of something terrible that's happened to you. So I want to share 3 ways that you actually do experience trauma or have, and it may really feel liberating for you to realize it. Now, I just want to clarify from a scientific perspective what trauma means here. If your nervous system is oversensitive, if your primal body is consistently reacting to a number of triggers that otherwise would be fine and safe for anyone else, but for you, the way someone looks at you, the way your husband says something about something you didn't do, the way that, you walk into a room and there's a certain smell, like honestly, small triggers, if those things are really stirring up anxiety in you, it probably means that you have an overactive nervous system. And trauma is, like, most people think that trauma is one big shocking event. So sexual assault, a car accident, whatever. It's like this big event. And the common misconception is you can have a lot of little small events that get your nervous system out of regulation and into a trauma state. So whether you experience one big event or you were bullied for your entire school years, your nervous system, if it is oversensitive, if it's out of whack, if you're reacting so much more than you really believe is, feels like you're normal, if you ever had a normal, then you have trauma in your body. You have repressed emotions stored in your body. You have stuff in there that you need to deal with that desperately wants to be released. And I'll talk in a little bit about why that's actually not as scary of a thing as it may sound right now. But here are the 3 most common ways that I'm helping women discover that what didn't really seem like trauma actually is. So the first thing is your parents got divorced at some point when you were younger. And it can be pretty common to be like, yeah, divorce, I understand that's a pretty traumatic event. But even thinking up to the divorce, if things were tense, if there was an underlying tension and frustration and anger and almost like a hatred in the relationship, and you're growing up feeling this all along, even if they did a great job keeping quiet and fighting in private, or they didn't, then you still felt that. So if you were born into a relationship like that, you felt that from day one. And especially when you don't have words, right? Because when you're an infant, you don't have words yet. You remember that stuff in your body. And what happens is things feel like they're always in a constant state of chaos, and like things are always on a thread and about to fall apart. So it's really common for you to take responsibility for that, for you to basically hold it all together for everyone else. And this can feel today like you actually are physically holding all together to the point where you're super tense and super anxious and uncomfortable living in your body. Another way that, you may not have thought that you've experienced trauma is that you witnessed your parents in more of an abusive relationship. So I know that sounds kind of similar to the last one, which it is, but you were the person who, again, held it all together. You were the person who got in the way and stood in the middle of your parents fighting, being like, stop it already. Or you at least wanted to, and you couldn't because it wasn't safe enough. And maybe you might not identify with them being in an abusive relationship, but there could be emotional abuse that is really hard to realize as a child, and therefore kind of reflect on and look back and realize that too. And if you had to hold it all together, no one else was speaking up, or everyone else acted out. This is actually a really kind of more personal story to me too. Is like, I was the good girl. I was the angel. I held it all together. I behaved really well. Even when I was angry and I wanted to speak out, I didn't, because everyone else seemed so frustrated and broken and fragile that if I did that, then I would mess everything up, or it wouldn't be safe. Then everyone would be fighting. There would be more violence. And it just did not feel safe for me to do that. So I learned to hold it all together. I learned to be good. And that's a lot that I had to work through. The third one is, let's say you grew up in a perfectly loving home. And none of this shit happened. I was just debating, should I curse or not? But whatever, we'll just go with the flow. None of that shit happened that I was just mentioning, but you went to school and you got bullied, you got picked on. And that actually, like, the disparity between your amazing, loving, safe home life and then this really unsafe environment in school is a shock to your nervous system too. And if you never had to speak up in your home, like if everything was always peaceful and good, you didn't really have to feel challenged to speak up to your parents necessarily, or your siblings or whoever. And you may have been bullied for a long time and you took that all in and you had to hold it all together. You really did, because if they saw you cry or cringe or anything, if you give them any sign that they're getting to you, they'll just hurt you more. Freaking bullies. Like, but really, you had to hold it all together. And that's the common thing about having anxiety today, where you feel like, what's wrong with me? I just have anxiety. I don't understand why I can't get rid of it. Because it's more than anxiety. It's not anxiety for no reason. It's trauma. And you have been holding that in for so long. And not only that, but there are more things that have happened in your life that just kind of layer on top of that. So the original trauma gets pushed down further and further, and it is desperately wanting to come out, or your nervous system is desperately saving you and protecting you and basically allowing you, or more forcing you to disconnect from your body and be more up in your head. Because if you connected to your body, you would have a sense of reconnecting to that past trauma, which is not a safe thing for you to do as far as your nervous system and primal body is concerned. But here's the thing, it's not as scary as people think it really is, if done safely and if done well. So if you've had bad experiences at talk therapy, or other kinds of like cognitive mindset, energy kind of therapies, where you talked about your stuff, you ripped apart these memories from the past, or you just kind of revisit all the time, talking about why you're not happy, then yeah, that's going to be a difficult process. And it really doesn't have to be like that. We don't have to revisit the past to move on. like when I move with my clients, we'll do certain movements that do trigger memories from the past. And that's a time where, yes, we talk it through, we move through it physically as well. And we take a short visit to the past, but we don't talk about it forever and ever. And because they feel that being released on such a deep level, because they're remembering it from where it actually is being stored, and then we talk through it, we can clear it in a satisfying way, in a way that we can move forward and make space for new, better experiences. And this happened just last week with one of my clients. We're 4 sessions into working together, and I was helping her and moving with her to move lightweight with light movements and heavy movements. And the heavy movements brought up a lot of anger in her, and it brought up a super specific memory, which I won't share for confidentiality purposes, but it brought up a super specific memory that if I asked her, what happened in your childhood that's you're really holding on to, she wouldn't really know. She wouldn't be able to access that memory because it came from her body. And we talked through it, we moved through it, and we're still working through it. I mean, it just happened. And it is the reason why she feels so responsible, because this memory was this amazing epiphany of how if she didn't hold it together, if she didn't control what was going on in her home, no one else did. And people could have potentially been killed. Like, it was that serious. And I know that sounds like a really hard thing to realize. And yes, you do have to grieve that. Like, you do have to feel some grief. When you've been holding on to trauma for so long in your body, it becomes a part of you. It becomes a part of who you are. It doesn't make you, it doesn't define you, but you do hold on for it for a long time. And then when you access it from your nonverbal subconscious, you get to let it go. But letting it go means that there is a loss and you do have to grieve. And that I would say is the hardest part about doing this work, when done well and when done safely, is that you have to feel grief. But with the right support, with the right safety, you can feel really amazingly held in that, in a way that you never were when you were younger, because you weren't allowed to have those certain feelings. You weren't allowed to let go of control. And now you get the experience when working in a therapeutic relationship like I do with my clients, get the experience of letting it go and being really beautifully held through it. It's an amazing reparative experience. So that is something I really wanted to share, because I know it might feel like you're broken or you're damaged goods because you're anxious all the time and there's no real reason. But I wanted to let you know that there really is a real reason. You have every reason. It's just that maybe you haven't found it yet. I hope that this video has helped illuminate something for you. But there is a reason. And if you're still not sure, or if you want to dig in more into some clarity that you've just gotten and how to really access and release that trauma in a way that is safe and gentle and doesn't require you to rip off a Band-Aid and rip apart a wound, and instead allows you to move forward in an amazing, expansive way, then I'd love to chat with you. We can meet for a relationship review. It's free, it's obligation free, and I will give you so much value in how to really let go, so you don't have to be responsible all the time, physically and emotionally holding it all together, when really on the inside you feel like you're gonna fall apart. And the amazing peace and freedom that leads to in your life. I'd love to help you understand how you can get there. So if you're interested, let's chat. Click on the link above, below, or to the side, depending on where you're watching. We'll meet for 30 minutes, get some seriously good value. This review has even been life-changing for people. Seriously. I'm laughing because yesterday I booked a review with somebody. She didn't complete the form, by accident. So I messaged her, something going on in my hair here. I messaged her to say, hey, can you complete this? She responded and filled out the answer with amazing clarity. And she's like, oh my God, what did you do to me? So she got this amazing clarity and we didn't even get on the call yet. It's just a little side joke, but seriously, I'd love to meet with you and really dig in deeper and understand how you can release this trauma so you can feel at peace and you can connect to your body and you can just love being you and experience a positive way of being you. All right, so until then, can't wait to see you move. Bye.